I rise today in support of the balanced budget amendment. In fact, it's beyond me to imagine that anybody in this body could oppose a balanced budget amendment. I ran my election last year primarily on this fact that government spending was out of control and the debt was consuming our country, and that we needed new and more serious rules to bring the budget into control. We've tried in the past. This body passed Gramm-Rudman-Hollings with bipartisan support in the 90s and immediately began to evade it. This body passed pay-as-you-go and then proceeded to disobey their own rules 700 times. We wonder why 9% of the people approve of Congress. It's because we cannot even obey our own rules. We need new rules. We need a balanced budget amendment that would be an amendment to the Constitution because we do not adhere to the rules that we pass. This body is literally out of control. Now, the other side says, trust us. Trust us, we can balance the budget. This other side hasn't even passed any budget this year or last year. Not just a balanced budget, the other side can't pass any budget. So I think we really do need new and stronger rules to force us to do what is right, what every American family has to do, and that's balance your family budget. A nation's no different. A nation has a printing press and can run deficits for longer, but there are ramifications. The enormous debt that we are accumulating as a country, we're borrowing $40,000 every second. During the time of my 5-minute speech, we will borrow millions of dollars. There are ramifications. What happens is you have to pay for your debt in some way. You can either tax people or you can borrow. We're at the limits of both. Or you can simply print the money. But as you print money to pay for your debt, you destroy the value of the existing currency. So those who have savings, those who are on fixed income, senior citizens, the working class who every penny of their paycheck goes to their needs, they are being robbed on a daily basis by inflation, and inflation is the end result of debt. If you look at the approval of Congress being 9% and you contrast that with how much of the public is for a balanced budget, 75% of the public, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, would vote in favor of a balanced budget amendment. But this body is out of touch because we can't get anybody from the other side even to talk to us about a balanced budget amendment. We worked for months to see what is it that would make it acceptable to the other side, and we got nowhere. We need to balance our budget because the debt is a threat to our country. This is not just me saying this. The chairman of the Federal Reserve has said that our debt is unsustainable. Admiral Mullen, part of this administration, has said that our debt is the greatest threat to our national security. Erskine Bowles, who led the Deficit Commission and has been known as a Democrat, said that we are approaching the most predictable crisis in our history, and it will be a debt crisis. All throughout Europe, there are debt crises. Italy's having trouble paying its debt. Greece is underwater. Portugal, Spain, Ireland are all tenuously holding on and trying to pay their debt. That European crisis, that destruction of the euro, is coming this way. Our debt now equals our economy. Senator Hatch mentioned we have a $15 trillion debt and a $15 trillion economy. Many economists say when your debt approaches 100% of your GDP, where ours is now, that you're losing 1 million jobs a year. It's having a drain on the here and now. It's not just this debt is being passed to our kids and our grandkids. The debt is affecting jobs. When I talk to college kids, I say the chance of you getting a job depends on what we do with the debt. If we continue to finance our spending through debt, you will not have a job. You'll have less likelihood of getting a job. Now, some say it would be too hard to balance the budget. It's just too far out of whack, we can't do it. It's pretty bad. We're borrowing 40 cents on every dollar. And if you look at the spending, borrowing 40 cents on every dollar is a remarkable thing. Our budget, what comes in revenue, is being consumed by entitlements and interest. Everything else we spend up here, national defense, roads, everything else, the rest of the 40% of the budget is being borrowed. It is out of control. Can you imagine any business or any family in this country borrowing 40% every year, year on after year? It can't be done. There are ramifications, and a day of reckoning is coming. But some say, how could we ever balance our budget? I'll tell you how. If you cut 1% of spending, this is called the penny plan, cut 1 penny out of every dollar in federal spending for 6 years and free spending for 2 years, the budget will balance in 8 years. If we were to pass a balanced budget amendment and send it to the states, there's a 5-year window in the amendment, plus it takes a couple years to pass. It'd be about 8 years. So you could balance your budget in 8 years simply by cutting 1 penny out of every dollar. And you say, well, how could that be? They're cutting trillions of dollars and not balancing the budget. The reason is when they talk about cutting spending around here, they're always talking about cutting proposed increases in spending. They're never talking about real cuts in spending. What I'm talking about is a real cut. We spend $3.8 trillion in our budget this year. 1% is $38 billion. Next year we'd spend $3.8 trillion minus $38 billion. A real cut of 1%. Each year for 6 years balances your budget in 8. It could happen, but it's going to take some resolve. But people need to understand the alternative. The alternative, if we do nothing, our debt is going to consume us as a nation. We've been warning about this for some time. Senator Hatch has been active. The last time we voted on this was in 1997. 14 years later, we've had a significant revolution at the polls, and people are anxious to say, do something. Protect us from this mountain of debt. And yet there's still great resistance in this body. But I would say that the people in this body who vote against the balanced budget do it at their own peril and do it against the will of the people. If they think it is so important to continue to accumulate debt and that debt is fine, vote against this amendment, but you're thumbing your nose at the people. You're thumbing the nose at the American people who are very worried about our republic and very worried about this debt. So, Mr. President, I rise today in support of the balanced budget amendment and encourage my colleagues to give serious thought to voting for this amendment.
Mr. President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I too rise in strong support of the